Faith and Family Fellowship Podcast is a Christ-centered podcast. Established in 2019 and hosted weekly by Pastor Chris Busher. Addressing a host of topics such as the Great Commission, Christian discipleship, and often featuring interviews with special guests who are experts in their field. The views and events expressed on this podcast and all related materials belong solely to their author and not necessarily to the author's employer, organization, committee, or other group or individual. While all attempts are made to present accurate information, some information may become outdated over time. Faith and Family Fellowship Podcast makes every attempt to timely update any and all such information. Without further delay, here's another powerful episode of Faith and Family Fellowship Podcast.
Welcome back to another episode of Faith and Family Fellowship Podcast. Once again, my name is Dallas here. Today, we have another amazing guest joining us today, a creator, Matthew Basinger. Matthew, such a pleasure to have you here today, all the way from California. How are you?
I'm doing very well today. How are you? Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we're doing great. We're doing great over here. So you are a designer. You design Christian t-shirts, sweatshirts, jewelry, amongst other things. And so we're going to discuss that itself, how our audience can find it. But before we do, I just want to talk about who you are, how you met God, how it kind of changed your life. And then we'll go from there.
Okay. That sounds good. Sure. So, yes, I'm Matthew, and I met God at a very young age. I grew up in a Christian household. From a very young age, always at church on Sundays, always eating dinner as a family, praying, before eating, always reading the Bible at night. Actually, I started at a very young age, around 7 years old is when I got into reading the Bible. So that's just something that was really important to my parents, and it's something that's really stayed with me my entire life. God has just been such an important part of my life, and it really started since I was very, very young.
Yeah, it's so good when we can get this implanted in us at a young age, and then it follows us, hopefully, for the rest of our life, right?
Yes.
Did you ever have any moments where you were just like really questioning your faith, or maybe the people around you were like, "Hey, Matthew, this is crazy. What are you doing?" Any moments like that?
I would say yes. When I was growing up, especially in middle school, there were times where I would be had a Christian cross I would wear to school every day. Sometimes there were kids I'd be like, "What are you wearing that for?" And I just, always just explained my faith and what I believed. And, middle school kids can be kind of mean to each other. So that's that was a testing time, but it's something I held on to. Despite that, I've just always held on to my faith, even during trying times.
Yeah. I hope that's what my son does too. I think that's a wonderful thing. When you can just stay strong, just stay strong in our faith. That's amazing. And so you are a designer. So what led you to start designing t-shirts, sweatshirts, jewelry, other things?
So I started my shop back in January of this year, so it's fairly new still. How I got into design actually is based off of my full-time job that I do. I work in statistics and dashboard creation, and so I get to work with numbers all day, but then I also get this creative side where I get to display numbers in a creative way. So I get to build out these beautiful, colorful dashboards that are accessible for everybody to use. And so I get through that process, I've kind of learned some elements of design. I've learned different software. So it's really through my full-time job is where I really started learning about design. And then I started picking up on some blogs and YouTube videos about design, and that's where I really started getting into I would really like to start making t-shirts, making sweatshirts, that sort of thing. And so that's really what prompted me to really start my store back in January.
Yeah. What do you think prompts your creativity? Because you say you have to scratch that itch, as you're creating dashboards all the time. So what do you find your inspiration?
Oh, I find a lot of things to be my inspiration. One thing is the Bible is an inspiration. Several of my designs are Bible themed. I have a copy of a Bible that my dad gave me a long time ago. And one thing I really like about it is it's also on the front, it has things for various times in your life when things are trying, when things are hard, it says, look at these verses. When things are going well in your life, look at these verses. So I've really used that as inspiration. And when I first started my store, I looked around at other Christian stores as well and thought, wow, like these are some really, really neat designs. This is something I want to be a part of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you made a good point that there are so many of these Christian designing stuff that's going on out there. How do you try to be different in your way, but also trying to keep the same theme? We need to stay within the faith, of course, some biblical designs that are pretty standard, but how do you spark that creativity and get it outside of that box that we've seen?
So I'd say many of my designs are based off of just life experiences. For instance, I have one design on my website with the saying, let's make heaven crowded, right? And that's something I learned from my dad as well. He used to say that a lot growing up. He used to always tell me, keep the faith. I want you to constantly, be in a good church, keep praying every day. He's like, one day I want you to, I want to be able to see you and the whole family in heaven. So that was something like make heaven crowded. So that's, inspiration, for one of the designs anyway. And that's really something I'm trying to incorporate. Another thing I've incorporated actually is one of my more recent designs is a let go and let God design shirt, which part of the reason behind that is really just a reminder about trying times and really remember that things are in God's hands. Back in April, just a few months after launching my shop, my dad passed away suddenly,
Wow.
kind of out of the blue. And so that's one design where, I know it was a trying time, but I know my dad's in a better place and I really have to let go and let God. So that was the inspiration behind that design.
Yeah. Some personal designs, right? They could really touch the other people that are listening today or people who see your store. Like, yes, this can apply to my life. Let go and let God. I can understand that. Yeah.
Definitely.
And so how many designs do you have today on your site?
Currently, I have 88 designs on my website. They're various, primarily t-shirts is kind of where I started at, but I've branched out into sweatshirts and jewelry, some of my newer designs as well as some baby tees that I've been working on as well. So I'm, I'm been really working on my designs and really, been getting them up there kind of slowly, but I'm, approaching 100. So I'm at 88 at the moment.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's a lot of designs to choose from, it sounds like. And let's talk about the jewelry aspect. Why did you go the jewelry route as well?
So a lot of the jewelry I offer are crosses or faith-based jewelry. It was really the biggest reason I went that route is I just loved jewelry pieces growing up as a kid. My dad gave me one of my first necklaces as a kid, and it was something I always wore them throughout school, throughout middle school, throughout high school. I've just always just worn them, and so that was something I wanted to get into as well as offering jewelry as well, just because it's something that I've always worn and something my dad wore a lot as well. So I think he really got me started on that, and it was something I wore quite a bit growing up.
You're listening to the Faith and Family Fellowship Podcast. We'll be right back after this quick word from our sponsors.
What does it have purchased some of your jewelry or some of your t-shirts that they've worn it and somebody has said something, it started a conversation, something like that?
I wouldn't. From a lot of the sales I have, my interactions with the customers have been limited, but one thing I could tell from just the whole design process is kind of that oftentimes simple works well. There's one thing my dad used to always, I reference my dad a lot. One thing he used to always say, he loved the phrase, Jesus is Lord. right? And so I created a couple of designs around that. I have one design with Jesus with the cross on his back with Jesus is Lord underneath. And I have another design that's a lot more simpler with the crucifix with the word Jesus on the left-hand side of the cross and then is Lord underneath on the right side. And one thing I've learned just from looking at the sales of my shop is that design, that very simple design, has actually been my best seller this year. And it's very, very simple. It didn't take me very long to create. But so one thing I've learned, at least early on in my store, is that oftentimes simple works well.
Mm-hmm. What if we have someone listening today who has this idea? Wow, I really want to start a Christian store as well. What would be your advice for this person to just make it easier?
I would say a good thing to way to start off with, I would say, is research. Really laying the groundwork for what you want to offer. There's so many different blogs that you can Google, social media sites and groups that you can follow. There's videos on YouTube on how to get started in all this. So I would say really start off with research and kind of just seeing and also just seeing what's out there. You can hop on Google and Google Christian stores and you can see what's out there and see what other people are offering and like, wow, that looks really cool. I want to get in on that. So really, I would say to lay the groundwork, really start off with your research, kind of have a plan in place on what you might want to offer, and then you can just start the design process.
Yeah. And you do use Etsy as a shop. Do you also have any other partnerships or sell your clothing anywhere else?
As of right now, I'm only on Etsy. So as this store grows, I might start offering my listings on other websites. But right now, my main focus has been on Etsy. So I'm focused on growth, and we'll kind of see where that goes in the future.
Yeah. Wonderful. Which design is your favorite? I got to ask that one. You tell me yours and I'll tell you mine. How about that?
Okay. I like that. I think my favorite design that I have on there, I have a sweatshirt with the Bible verse, "Be the light of the world." And maybe because my name is Matthew, I'm a little bit biased. That's from Matthew 5:14. Right. So that's one that I really like. And that one I had a lot of fun putting together I have yellow streaks that kind of look like a sun or star at the top of that with the wording underneath that. That's just something I just really found to be really inspirational. And it was, I enjoy working on these shirts, but that's when I had particular fun putting together.
And mine, I really like the one for Christmas, the Christmas themed one. Go Jesus, it's your birthday. I like that one. That one's fun.
Yes, that's one of my latest offerings, and sold 2 of those this past week. So
I love it. Another one that I really like, it's this one here. Let me find. Yeah, let's make heaven crowded. It's not just the words, but it's the design behind it as well. It's Jesus with the tomb rolling away. I mean, I think this is a great cartoon, little Pictionary of Jesus, right? I think it's cool. It's catchy. I don't know. It looks so nice. I like this one.
Oh, thank you.
Do you have this one available on hoodies as well? Long sleeves, t-shirts?
So some designs I offer on both, and some designs I have just only on a t-shirt or a hoodie. That Let's Make Heaven Crowded one at the moment, I just have it on t-shirts. But some designs I've put on both just to kind of test them out. But most of my designs are one or the other.
Yeah. Do you have some upcoming plans with your shop?
So in terms of upcoming plans, I'm really looking at continuing to grow and continuing to add more listings. I want to expand more in the baby line that I've started. I only have a handful of listings there, but those have been fun to put together. So I want to build more into that realm. Perhaps I've also been looking into also building out some shirts for teenagers as well. Because I have adult shirts and I have shirts for babies, but I'm missing that middle. So
you're missing the dogs too. You got to get some dog shirts out there.
Oh, there you go. Dogs.
Come on, cat shirts, dog shirts, fish shirts, all of it.
That's very true. So I still have those I definitely want this to be a shop where there's something for everybody. And so
Mhm.
definitely that's my plans, is continued growth, continuing to offer more
Mhm.
offerings, more Bible verse offerings, and more diverse set of offerings.
Yeah, wonderful. And you're using this print on demand option. Is this how you're able to give us the products quickly?
Yes. So I do use two different print-on-demand partners depending on what is ordered. One thing that's I've found useful with that, at least as a startup, is it allows me to really focus on the research, marketing,
Mhm.
design of the products, and they take care of all the rest for me.
Mhm.
They put my designs on the shirts for ordering, they ship it out for me. So, starting off is something I've found to be really useful.
Yeah.
So that way I can just focus on what I'm really wanting to do, which is the design process.
Hmm. And you also have social media as well. You have Facebook and you have Pinterest that we can also go and follow and see the recent designs and updates as you're making those as well.
Yes, I do. I have a Facebook page that you can follow. I have Pinterest, and one thing that I just added to my shop this actually just a few days ago, I've also started an email newsletter as well,
Hmm.
which is what's been, it's a good way to stay up with the shop as well, along with
Hmm.
social media. So I have a link on my Etsy page where you can sign up for emails, and you can get my latest offerings, sent to your inbox, and any
Yeah.
sales and discounts.
Wonderful. And can you tell our audience one more time, how can we find your shop?
Sure. So you go to Etsy, and when you go to Etsy, it's my link is etsy.com/shop/BasingerByDesign. And from there, you can see my whole shop and all the available listings. You can see I have some videos up there of some of the designs as I've been working on them, so you can kind of see
Hmm.
a little bit into that as well, and learn more about my shop there as well. And I also put a little blurb there about a little bit about me as well, so you can read a little bit about me and learn a bit more about me as a person.
Yeah. Perfect. Thank you so much for your time here today and sharing a little bit about your shop. Anything else that you would want us to take away from your time here, your shop itself, the designs?
Um, I would say for takeaways that for anybody that wants to like start this themselves, again, it's something that you need to put some research into, some time
Mhm.
into. Um, and again, for at least my store, I'm focused on the long term here. I'm focused on long-term growth. So again, I'll be adding more listings, throughout this year, next year. Um, and really, that's pretty much it.
Mhm. Wonderful. Matthew, thank you so much for your time. If you can end us with a prayer for our audience today, that would be excellent.
Oh, of course. I would be happy to. Uh, well, dear God, thank you for this wonderful day, and for all the blessings that you provide us in our lives. And please watch and protect over all of us, everybody in the world, and everybody listening to this podcast. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
You've just listened to the Faith and Family Fellowship Podcast with your host, Pastor Chris Busher. Faith and Family Fellowship Podcast was recorded live in studio with final editing made before uploading. Subscribe today to Faith and Family Fellowship Podcast on iTunes or Google Play. For more fantastic daily content, visit Pastor Chris Busher online via Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. Don't miss the next episode on Faith and Family Fellowship Podcast.